Sure.
And we'll go ahead and get started. So we've got a few students joining us today. We may have some more coming in as we talk, because some classes go to 3:15. First, Jerry, just welcome. I'm glad you can talk with the Sport Management Club. And tell us a little bit about your background, maybe kind of your schooling and how you've kind of worked up to the position today.
Yeah, so I'm a born and raised in Alliance, Ohio. So it's where the University of Mount Union is. Some of you might have heard of Mount Union. Obviously, a good football program, but they have one of the best sport business programs across the country as well. And so I was a 2000 graduate. Now they weren't one of the top sport business programs when I went there, but certainly over the last 10 years, especially, they've really elevated themselves as one of the. Actually, I think they were just voted not too long ago, a couple years ago, as the top number one in the state of Ohio at that time, and then top 10 in the country as far as. So they're right up there with Ohio University, Central Florida. Some of the big programs that Slippery Rock has a great program. There's a lot of great programs out there, and so. I was a 2000 graduate of there. I literally, sport business major, literally walked across stage on a Sunday and started full-time on Monday. And so it's been May 15th of this year, will be 21 years that I've been here. And it's always been youth education, a little different avenue. Most people that have worked this position at the Pro Football Hall of Fame have been education majors, obviously. And so that's traditionally, if a teacher doesn't want to go into the traditional classroom setting, they could work for a nonprofit or a museum or something like that to do something untraditional, still working with curriculum and education, things like that. But for whatever reason, they hired me. I mean, so it's worked out. Actually, there are some reasons why they hired me, is because I came in well prepared for the interview. And those are things we can talk about here today as well. So I do have some prepared stuff I want to share with you guys, but I really want to go off of questions that you guys have, because I think that'll make it more relevant for you guys, to make sure I'm really dialing into the things that you guys want to touch on. But start off as the education coordinator, went to manager about 5 years ago, director, and so essentially doing the same thing, just being recognized, I guess, for what I'm doing. So I don't know if you guys have any other questions, or you want to go into a little bit about kind of an intro into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think that's how most of our speakers do it. If you want to go ahead and talk about what you have prepared, and then that usually helps prompt some questions from the students, and we'll go from there. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, certainly. And this is something of personal interest of mine too, not only because it's my job to talk careers in the NFL, but I'm also on the Sport Business Advisory Board at the University of Mount Union too. So it's really kind of funny though, because our first meeting was about 2 years ago. We started this because Mount Union is accredited through through COSMA, the Commission of Sport Management Association. And so they went through that accreditation process, and, it was a very intensive process to be accredited. And it's funny, when they first developed the advisory panel, a lot of the folks that are on that advisory board are folks that I graduated with, some people from 99, 2000, 2001. Todd Fleming is a vice president with Legends Hospitality. Ryan Robbins, who was a director for Browns and a number of other organizations. Brett Stellick, who was the chief revenue officer for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, it's really funny. We went around the table, all of us, and did an intro of where you came from, what you've been doing, just give everyone an update. And how the sale, especially in the sales industry and sports, I mean, it's, 2 years, 3 years here, my buddy, for example, Ryan Robbins, who's now working for the Hall of Fame now, but he's now a vice president. But he started off with started off in 2000 with the New Orleans Saints in ticket sales, went to the Cleveland Browns in ticket sales as well, kind of a lateral move at that point, became a director with the Chicago Fire a few years later after that, went as a director for the Oakland Raiders, then came back as a director for the Cleveland Indians, now as a vice president with our for-profit arm, which is our Hall of Fame Village. I don't know if you know, we're building a village here in Canton, Ohio. It's about a $1 billion project that we have going on here, building kind of a Disney World for football. And so went around the circle of all these people that had similar backgrounds to Ryan, this, and then they get to me, and I'm like, I've been at the Hall of Fame for 21 years. I don't have anything else to say, And so I'm a little bit different animal, I guess, so to speak, than, but I think it will open your eyes up, at least to, you don't necessarily have to, I know our sport business program at Mount Union, they're very ticket sales heavy. You know, I mean, if you want to get the easiest entry point into sports, obviously typically is sales. And so there's a lot of sales, and the professors there obviously hammer those things as well. But what I can open your eyes up to today, I think, is maybe some of the other opportunities that are out there in and around the NFL. But before I do that, I always like to give a clear understanding of exactly who the Hall of Fame is and what it is we do. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share a screen for you guys. And for those of you that don't know where we're at, do you guys, Alyssa, Nicole, Ethan, Andrew, you guys know where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is? We're not too far away from you guys.
Canton.
Okay, very good.
I do not.
Exactly. So we're not that far away from you guys. So I'll go zoom in and show you guys our building here in Canton, Ohio. And there's our building. And you guys see what's next to us? You guys know what that is?
Where they play the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, exactly. So this year, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be playing the Dallas Cowboys. Let me go down to ground level so you can kind of see the inside. It's also where the induction ceremony takes place. And so this year, we will get to see Peyton Manning enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So if there's any Colts fans, your boy's going to be inducted here this year. It's a very big year for us. Last year was canceled, so we've got the class of 2020 and the class of 2021. So we've got a Thursday night game on NBC. We've got a Saturday night enshrinement on ESPN NFL Network, a Sunday night enshrinement on ESPN NFL Network. So we got 3 back-to-back major nationally televised events going on, which means we're going to be working like crazy this summer to prepare for those things. But let's go down into our parking lot here and show you guys our main entrance. And then I also want to show you guys the inside of our building. Okay. And so now I've got this whole presentation that we do with, 5th and then 12th graders. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but I do want to go through a couple things here. But the first thing we always do with any group, and this is whether I'm telling you, whether it's a group of 2nd grade students or CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, we show them this video. And this video is called More Than a Game. And it really explains really who we are and what it is that we do here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because we just believe that there's no other sport that's quite like football. And we believe there's a lot of life lessons that football teaches. So whether I'm talking to 5th graders in San Francisco, California, or college students in Indiana, there's application to all levels as to what football teaches. And so I won't go through the whole video just for sake of time, because I know we got about 30 to 45 minutes here, but I will go through the first minute and a half, and it'll give a good summation of what we teach here and what my job constitutes, which is teaching the life lessons that football teaches.
It is America's passion. We live for it, hunger for it, cheer for it, and are inspired by it. But it is so much more than a game. We love it on our youth fields, in our high schools, at our colleges, in our stadiums, and on our TVs. But it is so much more than a game. We love those who coach it, play it, broadcast it, and even officiate it. Well, most of the time. But it is so much more than a game. Football is a classroom for commitment. It is a laboratory for learning important life virtues and values like teamwork, perseverance, responsibility, courage, compassion, and character. Life skills that, if mastered, will not only make you a Hall of Famer, but more importantly, a great father or mother, husband or wife, son or daughter, friend, teacher, preacher, soldier, police officer, firefighter, or citizen of our communities.
Okay, let me go and stop it there just for the sake of time. And you'll see our mission here at the Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, preserve its history, promote its values, and to celebrate excellence everywhere. And so that's really what it all starts. It all comes back to our mission statement and what we stand for here at the Hall of Fame. And so if we look at our youth education department, even though we have curricular areas, we teach young people, we use football to teach math and science and social studies and things like that. At the beginning of every one of our programs, that's the message that we share with every single school. I mean, we're going to connect probably just over video conferencing this year, probably 800 to 900 connections this year, maybe even close to 1,000 to probably 25, 30,000 kids. Not to mention, hopefully in the future, field trips pick back up. We went from having 15,000 kids visit our museum every year to, I think this year we had 80. So obviously with COVID and whatnot, but we expect that to pick up. But we typically reach out to and impact over 40,000 kids a year. But that video really summarizes what we're about. And we believe, first of all, if there's any athletes here, we believe all sports teach amazing things, whether it's baseball, basketball, volleyball, softball, whatever sport it is, they all teach amazing things. But we just believe that football is just unique compared to any other sport. There's just no sport that's quite like that. And what I mean by that is, and let me ask you guys this, would you guys all agree, and you can either unmute and say yes, or just give a thumbs up with the reaction button, whatever you prefer. But would you guys agree that in football, that there are people of different shapes and sizes that play football, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And that's other sports too, but not
Yes,
quite as extreme as football, obviously. I mean, would you agree that in football, there's people of different color that play football?
Yes.
yes, sir.
Yep. And that's not just football. That's a lot of other sports. That's the beauty of sports in general. But here's where football really separates itself. When you watch a game, you see 22 players on the football field, 11 on offense, 11 on defense. Would you guys agree that on the football field at the same time, there's a wide variety of skills and abilities around the football field working together at the same time?
Yes.
Yes.
And that's where football is just so unique. It's because what you see are players out there that have unique gifts, unique abilities, unique skills, unique talents, things that make them different, things that make them unique, things that make them special, but ultimately things that make them valuable to the teams that they play on. And so what's amazing for me is not only with young people, but again, this is something I share with old folk as well, is that, not only do I see that on the football field, but I see that today with you guys as well. And I know probably you're like, well, did he just call me special? Well, yeah, I did actually. And I'm a 43-year-old man. There's times that I need reminded that there are things that make me special, make me unique, and that I bring things to the table here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame and all the other teams that I play on in life that's unique to me, that I bring that no one else really does. And so that's what we believe football teaches is really it's a group of people of all different shapes, sizes, colors, skills, abilities, and giftings that come together in love and unity in pursuit of one common goal. And that's to win a football game. And trust me when I say this, there's a reason why that terms like the huddle and we're going to rally together, or we're going to, fourth quarter push. There's the reason why that business football analogies to illustrate what they're trying to convey is because they're powerful, and the things that you see on the football field and the love and the unity is what every CEO of a Fortune 500 company wants his team to do, is everyone to use their unique abilities to contribute to the betterment of the team. And so I just want to encourage you guys to continue utilizing your skills, your abilities, the things that make you unique, things that make you different, the things that ultimately make you valuable to the team, is to understand that you have things about you that make you valuable to the teams that you play on, and then use those things to not for yourself, but for the betterment of the team. And so when we start getting, an atmosphere where everyone on the team, whether that's in the classroom, whether that's in businesses, whatever that is, that are all committed to utilizing their gifts to making the team better, that's when you have special things happen. And that's what we believe football teaches so well, is how everyone is out there utilizing their uniqueness to make everyone else better. Football is the only sport where you can't have one person dominate. I mean, just about every sport, I could argue that you could probably in some way, shape, or form have a player that dominates. Football, you just can't. All 11 people on offense or all 11 on defense have to execute in order for the play to even have a chance. I mean, one person misses their assignment, wide receiver runs the wrong route, or the running back doesn't chip, or whatever it is, all these little things that take place, all of them have to be executed flawlessly, and everybody has to utilize their skills. So it's something we're very passionate about here. It's something I'm very passionate about, not only professionally, but personally, is just trying to use football to teach people how to be better teammates in life. And so that's the first thing I want to start with is that. But what's really cool about my job is that I also get to teach about all kinds of different curricular areas in my job. And I think the one that I'll focus on, because it's directly relevant to what we're talking about with you guys here as well, is our careers in the NFL program. And so what's really cool, and if you guys haven't had the chance to see this, I'm just going to go quickly through this, just to kind of show you the all-encompassing jobs that are out there, and I'll skip over some of this background info that we use with schools. But when you look at this, I mean, I could show you right now, and we won't have time to go through them all, but these are 5 videos that 49ers did for us that interview behind the scenes jobs with these NFL teams. And just for the sake of today, since you're marketing, maybe social media, something you might be interested in, let's look at the job of social media.
My main job responsibilities for the 49ers are to help run all of our official social media accounts, and that also extends into the community accounts that we have. So 49ers community events, we're helping capture content in real time and deliver that through Snapchat and Instagram stories. And at the same time, we're working with our video production team and our team photographers, as well as our graphic designers, to get things scheduled and promoted on all of our social accounts.
Now I'm going to show you this other one too, game day entertainment. You think about, I can tell you, because I used to be friends with, he used to be the executive producer for the Steeler, which game day entertainment was under his jurisdiction. And they have about 50, 60 people that are working just game day entertainment. I mean, you think about the interviews, the halftime shows, the pregame shows, the video boards, all the things all the ways that they entertain you outside of the game itself. It's amazing how many people work behind the scenes. But I'm gonna let this one play a little bit longer, because I think it's interesting what she says about her education too.
My main job responsibilities. So, as somebody who oversees game presentation and live events, specifically with game presentation in the season, it's enhancing our themes of our home games. So, really, it's everything from our national anthem singer, color guards, giant flags, flyovers, halftime acts, content that goes on the video boards, and how we enhance the theme of the game. So, if it's particularly like the home opener or salute to service, we're working on different elements of that game and fan experience to tie it all together. And then events in the off season are things like our draft party or state of the franchise type of events, where we're bringing fans together in the off season, which really is the it's a 365 product in the NFL for marketing, and we're just constantly staying in touch with our fans. So a lot of it has to do with putting together these events and creating, hopefully, memories and experiences that people will remember when they come to games and events. I definitely took an unconventional path to this profession, but in college I majored in English with a concentration in American literature, which has absolutely nothing to do with game presentation. But there's
I just think that's interesting, her background and what you'll find with this. Now, you guys are obviously in sport marketing and in those areas, but what you'll find is even if you start looking at these job descriptions for people in general marketing, sales, a lot of them don't even specify necessarily a specific degree. Some of them you will. You see business administration, sport management, something like that, to those extent, sales marketing. But a lot of them, you look in there and it just says degree required. So what they're looking for is obviously experience. They're looking at degree, but they're looking at experience. Now, there's certainly benefits of being a sport business major of some type, because the connections that you'll have in the industry versus just a better general business degree, that program may have connections to like Fortune 500 companies, but not where you're trying to go to, which is with a sports franchise or something like that. So those are some of the benefits between the two, and obviously doing stuff specific to what you do in the sports industry, like ticket sales and things like that. But again, a lot of these are just looking for experience, and the bottom line is, marketing is marketing, selling is selling. If you can sell a used car, you can probably sell tickets, but many of you might be like me. I don't like sales, and so I wanted to do something else. And so you can see some of these different jobs that are here. I can also fast forward and show you guys. I'm just gonna skip over these. These are, I'll show you a media guide here in just a moment for the, I think it's for the Detroit Lions here, but we went through a number of different media guides for these NFL teams and just looked at some of the more obscure jobs that are out there. I mean, there's just so many jobs out there in and around sports. I mean, look at that: seamstress, sports science coordinator, art director, mailroom coordinator, pet band director, skilled maintenance, sports science manager, parking director, director of flight crew, landscape manager, tax manager, director and choreographer, international business ventures, driver, director of construction management, plumber, psychologist, pastry chef, pastor, curator of rare guitars, carpenter, engineer, chiropractor, electrician, steam fitter. I mean, just so many jobs that are in and around these NFL teams. And I wanted to jump into and just show you guys. Now, I saw you guys are located. Now, I could have went with the Colts, but you guys are interesting located. You're like literally smack dab in like the middle of 5 different teams, as far as distance wise. I was even throwing the Bengals in there, even though it might be a little bit further away. But I mean, you're pretty much like 2.5 hours, 3 hours away from a number of different NFL teams. So I just went into the Lions media guide. And what this is, if you guys aren't familiar with this is something the teams put together every year for the media about the team. Typically, it's 400 or 500 pages long. But what's really cool is it actually gives an active directory for these NFL teams. So you can actually start looking at, areas. I mean, I know we won't go into any specifics, but you can just see the general headings, the departments: football administration, medical staff, coaching, player performance, team operations, something you don't even think about. And that's one of the jobs we could have played here today is who's coordinating the travel and the logistics, for the players, who's taking care of that, who's taking care of the food. I mean, these guys, especially pretty much year round, they're being fed breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because they're at the facilities from, many times 6 a.m. till 8 p.m. at night. Coaches even longer, obviously. But you can see just how many people work in these different areas: finance, video and operations, football systems, football communications, so PR, football education, which would be more in my realm here, team development. So look at that. They have a character coach on staff, groundskeeper, business development. We just interviewed someone from, I think it was from the Broncos recently, that's in this area, and he has no experience at all necessarily in sports, but he's in business analytics. And he was using words that I didn't fully understand, to be honest with you. When he talks about tracking business analytics and stuff like that, there's certain softwares that he was saying out, and we were just kind of like, we're going to take your word for it that the audience that's listening knows exactly what you're talking about. But there's different softwares and things like that he uses for trends in business analytics. You can see HR, community relations, IT, marketing, corporate partnerships, new media. We can keep on going. I mean, look at ticket sales. I mean, this is why I push that way, as it sales, because there's so many jobs. And this is actually one of the smaller ticket sales staff that I've seen in the NFL. So there's usually even more. And not only the production, not only selling the tickets, but the production of the tickets. So it's something you don't think about. So you just get an idea of just how many people work in and around these NFL teams. And if you guys haven't used it, what I encourage you to use as well, and they're actually out of Shaker Heights, out of Cleveland, is if you search NFL careers as I did, I would encourage you to go to, they don't have every single career opening, but they have a number of different ones. Teamwork Online. You guys familiar with Teamwork at all?
Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good. So a great resource for you guys, because not only can you look at current job openings, but right now you can start gearing your backgrounds to it. Like, what do these jobs entail? What's the roles and responsibilities? So let's look at the manager of premium sales for the Minnesota Vikings. You can scroll down and see essential duties, responsibilities, qualifications. I mean, this is very general. Bachelor's degree in marketing or related field. I mean, and like I said, a lot of times you'll see just bachelor's degree required in some of these jobs. So they're not necessarily, again, looking for necessarily a specific degree, just looking that you have, and then they're looking at your experience. So you can go through a number of these different teams and look at what they entail. I mean, this is just crazy, just how many jobs and how many different football systems developer, I mean, manager digital marketing, that might be something you're more familiar with, but just fan experience, special events intern, training camp intern, social marketing intern, manager of corporate partnerships and business insights for the New York Jets. But what's really cool is you can go in here, if you haven't already, is you can actually click up top here, click on here, and go to different sports leagues. I mean, MMA or basketball jobs, you know, whatever it is. So just so many jobs in and around these particular areas. So that's why I kind of want to give you an overview and then just go to specific questions you guys have about whether it's my particular position or whether it's just general questions about the industry. Because I've got 21 years working across, you know, even here, but I work very closely with pretty much all 32 NFL teams, especially through their community relations departments, because we do a lot of programs nationally. So definitely have a lot of friends that work in and around the industry. So I'll just go to questions as you guys have.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you guys have any like internships opportunities there?
Yes, we do. You can email me. I mean, Brandy, you can give them my direct email. I mean, that's fine. And I'll point you along to our internships. We just filled all of our summer internships. There is a stipend for our summer internships. We just started that this year. I think it's a $3,000 stipend for that, but which wasn't the case beforehand. I'll give you an example. We had I think there's about 15 different internships that were offered across, and we have an internship department that kind of funnels through those and then disperses them to the department that they're interested. Just for youth education, my department, I think we had about 100 applicants. So it's highly, highly competitive. And so they narrowed it down to 15, and then we took it from there. But yes, let me know. I can send you a link to that.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
What's like
Go ahead, Andy. Go ahead, please.
what's like a day-to-day like schedule look like for you? Just a normal day look like for you?
Yeah, it's becoming a little bit more saner because I used to travel a lot for the Hall of Fame. So when you think about sponsorships, there's not only the sales element to a sponsorship, but you'll see with a lot of teams, they title it different ways, but a lot of times it's referred to as activation of partner sponsorships. And those are, you know, essentially if it's a program that you're doing with a sponsor, someone's got to go out and do it and activate it and do it well. And so one of the things I used to do with my job was help with our sponsorship team. I used to fly across the country. We had a partnership with U.S. Army. We had a partnership with Ford Motor Company. I traveled across the country with Hall of Famers. I've flown from White Plains, New York with Art Monk to Honolulu, Hawaii with Mike Haynes. I've worked with Emmett Smith, Jerry Rice, Jim Brown. You know, I've traveled across the country with a lot of these folks. Barry Sanders, Dan Marino. So I've got to do some pretty cool stuff and with our guys to activate those sponsorships to make sure Ford Motor Company and the U.S. Army were happy with the activation that we did programs essentially at schools across the country. There were character-based programs that we did with Ford Motor Company and them. So it used to be crazy. I was all over the place. It's a lot more sane now because I got kids at home and I just can't travel that much. You know, I don't want to be. So luckily I have a guy that's 28 and single that he's like, send me wherever, you know, so he's got no commitments, no ties. He's like, I'll travel every week. Cause there's a while for about 2 times out of the year for about 2 months, I travel to 15, 20 different locations over those times. But now, my day-to-day is a little bit more 9 to 5-ish, where I am here pretty much, for the most part, I'm back in our studio doing programs for the most part. We have another person that does all of our in-house programs, all of our field trips, and our youth education team. There's a team of 3 of us, so myself and 2 others. And then the other guy is doing more of our national programs. So our Heart of a Hall of Famer series, where we connect about 15 guys a year out to schools across the country so they can talk to Hall of Famers about life lessons that they learned from football. So it's an awesome opportunity. We oversee that. So coming up, we've got Orlando Pace and from the Ohio State University. And I'm trying to think who we got. Alan Faneca, who's going to be enshrined this year. He's the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive lineman. Played for a couple other teams, but I don't recognize those teams. I'm a Steeler fan. So it's a little bit, become a little bit more sane, my schedule. During the summertime, it does shift focus because we are preparing for nationally televised events where I kind of take my museum education hat off and start going into game operations, especially on the media side. We handle the thousands of media requests that we get. So I'm working in the press box, working with the TV networks, things like that. Enshrinement, for example, I get to prep the new class members every year. So guys like Randy Mosh, whatever, you know, when we talk about game production, or excuse me, enshrinement production, what they do when they go out on stage to unveil their bronze bust who takes the shroud that covers it, where's the presenter going, where's the Hall of Famer going up the microphone, where they come off each stage. So I get to prep those guys on those kind of things, work a lot with the media. And then in between speeches, I work with Sirius XM and actually pull guys off the stage. So let's say if Eddie DeBarlo was enshrined that year, who was the former owner of the San Francisco 49ers, the Sirius will present 3 guys that they want to try to get for that interview. If I can get one of them, obviously their top tier is Joe Montana or Steve Young. They want to see if they can get that. If not, Ronnie Lott. And since I know these guys pretty well and they know me pretty well, luckily I was able to get Joe to come off stage in between speeches to go on national radio to talk about what it meant to see Eddie DeBarlo get enshrined. So those are kind of some of the behind the scenes. So summertime, we shift a little focus, like I said, from that. I also oversee an event called First Play, where we line up 4,000 kids from downtown Canton up to the Hall of Fame. They're pretty much 6 feet apart, which is kind of funny because we've been social distancing well before social distancing was even a term, going back to 2000. But these kids pass a football from downtown Canton up the Hall of Fame to kick off enshrinement week, powered by Johnson Controls. And so I oversee that event, and we have about 70 volunteers that I work with to make sure that event goes flawlessly. So it's all over the place. But during the year, for the most part, I'm in here doing broadcasts with young people. I don't know if that gives you a better picture of what goes on.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
I did want to piggyback off something you said a little while ago. I think you were talking about an internship. There's a position that people were applying for there at the Hall of Fame, and you said he had like 100 resumes already. What can students do to kind of best position themselves to where their resume moves to the top, or at least they're going to get a second look?
Yeah. I think number one is don't have any typos on your resume. You got career services experts at your school that will look over it. And I'm not talking about maybe you used a comma when you shouldn't have or something like that. I'm talking about like clear typos, like a misspelling of a word or something like that. I think those are things that immediately catch my attention, that I'm like, this person doesn't have attention for detail. But for me, the things that stand out are those that are involved in a lot on campus. I mean, because I'll be honest with you guys, I don't ever look at a GPA. Not to say get good grades. I don't, I honestly, I'm not a fan. Unless you got a 3.9 or 4.0, I wouldn't even put your GPA on there. And again, that's just my personal opinion. Other people might disagree and have other, but I'm not concerned about your GPA as much as I am seeing that, you went to school full time, maybe you're head of sorority or something like that. And then you also did internships throughout that. And so that to me stands out. Like, I'll take a 3.2 GPA or a 2.9 GPA of someone who busted their tail and did all kinds of different things, as opposed to a 3.9 GPA and maybe didn't have a whole lot of experience. And so those are the things that I'm looking for. And then obviously career related experience as well. I always joke, with high school students, they're putting their high school babysitting job on their resumes, and maybe even as a freshman in college, you might be doing that. But once you get sophomore, juniors, and seniors, I expect to see some internship experience, even if it's not a full-time internship experience, just, project related experience. I would assume, just like most universities, at your university, as you're doing papers and projects, that there's opportunities for you to network and do projects. And so, for example, for us, our sport marketing program that we had at Mount Union, we actually did, instead of taking a test, this is the beauty of our sport business program, which kind of lured me into it. We didn't take tests in sport business. We went strictly by projects. And so one of the projects was putting together a marketing plan, and where we actually presented to an actual company that marketing plan. And so that was experience that I was able to put on my resume to say, developed a sport marketing plan. Here was outline the benefits and opportunities for an actual company, those kind of things. And so those things, even if it's not necessarily an internship that's, maybe 15, 20 hours during the school year per week, or a summer internship, which would be more full-time, which I would say get those as well, but you can still get experiences through your university that can help put things on your resume that'll stand out to me. So when I see, especially specific to my background, youth and education, things like that, career related experiences. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, great advice.
Okay,
Thank you.
Perfect. perfect. And the other thing, the interview process, it's something I coach kids on quite often. Couple things to have. Number one is, I can't emphasize this enough, be an expert on the position. You should know everything you possibly can. And I don't even think you have to memorize it all. I don't have a great memory on it, honestly. I did not do well in college because I mean, literally, please don't repeat this to anyone else. I would never tell my kids this. I had a 1.9 my first two semesters. I struggle with chemistry and history because I'm just better with events and planning and things like that. You know, it's just memorization. But I forget the point of what I was saying on that. Where was I going with that? What were we just talking about?
The interview process.
Oh yeah, thank you. The interview process. And so, you know, the interview process, become an expert on that position. You know, I came in very well prepared for my job. You know, I knew Hall of Famers, I knew the mission statement, you know, all those things. And that's where I went with memory. Was, I don't think you have to memorize it all. I think you can have it written down. I think most interviewers, if you said, hey, I've got a notepad of stuff that I want to take notes throughout the interview and things like that. I also have a list of questions here, you know, things like that. To me, that says you're well prepared. I don't think you have to memorize. You should try to memorize as much as you can. But if someone jots down and says, yeah, you know, I couldn't remember it all, but I do have it jotted down here, that tells me you did the research that you need to do for that. I mean, know the executive team. I mean, anything you can. There's no excuse for not knowing. Even my background, you know, like Nicole now sees that I've worked with the Pro Football Hall of Fame for 21 years now because she went to LinkedIn. And so that's something she could bring up during the interview. Especially the other saying we have in sport business at Mount is that if you don't have questions, you don't have a job. And so have questions at the end, have, you know, related questions to the job. So Nicole could come up and with a question at the end saying, hey, I've seen from your LinkedIn profile that you've got 21 years at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What does it take to stay that long in a position? You know, those kind of questions that really show me, like, I'm like, man, Nicole's really done the research on this, really demonstrating those things. So I think those two things, and there's a lot of other things that you could tie in there. But I think for me, the two things that stand out is someone who's an expert on the position, and then someone who has relevant questions at the end. Those are the two things. Because, you know, I've had people that I've interviewed and interns. Now I give a little bit more grace for interns as I would someone that I'm hiring full time, but really they don't know anything even about the position that they're interning for. And I'm like, how do you know you want the job if you don't even know what this position is? You know, to me, you should come in, you can very easily access our educational programs on our website. You can see the 10, 12 initiatives that we offer and have those memorized or have those written down to show me that, like, yeah, you're really interested. You could say, yeah, I see you guys do video conferencing with schools across the country. I see you do stuff with Hall of Famers. I see you do it before the Snap series. And when I hear that, I'm like, all right, this person's very serious about this job. So those are the two biggest things for me with the interview process.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions? Probably got time for maybe one more question.
Yeah, I'm good. As long as you guys are good, I'm good.
Okay.
Do you always want to work in football, or like what are some like internship experiences you had?
And I'm the worst example of what you should do in college. I was very fortunate to get the job. Now it did help that I had, because I never did an internship when I was in college. Now we had some indirect experiences, like you had to actually work an internship as part of a job, but that was just like at a local YMCA, something like that. Not to say that's not good experience as well, especially for what I was going into. But I didn't actually take it to that next level of like getting a summer internship or something like that. And so I would suggest, you know, getting as many internships as you can. And so, you know, I was fortunate enough that my professor was good friends with my boss. And my professor always jokes that the student I was my freshman and sophomore year, he'd never recommended for the position, but I obviously matured quite a bit. That's part of college, is not only growing in your academics and education, but a lot of it's maturity, maturing through the process. So I was fortunate enough to get my job part-time during my senior year and start the day after graduation. So yeah. I didn't have necessarily all the experience that you probably should have, but I did come in again. I came in very well prepared. And that's what my boss said, that compared to any of the other applicants, you know, I knew I came in well prepared for my interview.
All right. Well, this was fantastic. And I think our sport management club, we usually do an immersion trip every year. Obviously, these past couple, it's been a little bit odd. But, I think, we need to make Cleveland put that on the
Definitely.
list of
Definitely.
places to go and take a trip down to Canton. So
Well,
think
I
it's
know
really
Nicole has my contact info, so she's done her due diligence to that. So and again, that's where Nicole's and it's just honestly, I mean, this is just a lesson for you guys, is that Nicole's already separated herself from the rest of you guys. Just in the fact that now I'd like to have chime in with a few more questions here today, but that's just a little critique there. But she's already separated herself because she took the time to connect with me on LinkedIn. Something as simple as that. But again, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, he can pass his email along to you guys. Please do not, anything I can do to help you guys. It's not only a professional calling, but it's a personal calling in my life, is to help this next generation take the next step in their life. And so I would love to be able to help you guys in any way, shape, or form. Even if it's like, hey, I want to interview the community relations director for the Lions and I couldn't get through to anyone. Can you help me do that? I'd love to be able to do those kind of things for you guys to help you. I can't say I can 100% do it, but I certainly will pull any strings that I can on my side to make that happen. So anything I can do to you guys to be an asset and a resource for you guys, please do not hesitate to contact me.
fantastic. I hope you guys, take him up on it. Obviously, he'll add you on LinkedIn, so feel free to make that connection there. And Jerry, I'll definitely be in contact with you here soon. We'd love to get you involved, like on our Center for Sports Studies podcast that we have here, and some other things. So
let's
this
do
was
it.
great. Thanks so much.
Let's connect 4, 5, 6 times a year. I don't care, whatever. I mean, let's any way I can be a resource for your department. Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jerry. And this is awesome learning a little bit more
Perfect.
about.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, everyone. See you guys.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
Take care. All right. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. We'll catch up. We'll catch up soon. Thanks.